Welcome back, everybody. So tonight's project is something kind of off the wall, but that's kind of what we do around here is whatever. So this is an old KitchenAid mixer. And apparently, from what I'm told, I haven't researched it myself, but what I'm told is these models that are the metallic look are stupid expensive. So the story with this is it's a garage sale find. It supposedly all works, and it's going to be a Christmas present for a young girl that's a friend of mine who loves to bake. And I believe they said this was $30. And it came with all the attachments and everything. So, number one is it is being hidden at my house so that she or none of the other siblings find it. And also, it could use a little cleaning. When I say cleaning, I don't mean food. So we're pretty well scratched up and everything here just from use. The plastic, again, from use, has seen some better days. But mainly, it's this copper finish. And as you can see, just from use, it has tarnished. Now, so I'm going to try to clean this tarnish and make this look better. The problem is, I am real sure this is die cast. And when I look at the bottom of it, let's see if I can show you. See all those intricate ribs and everything and how thin it is? Yeah, I'm real positive this is die cast. Die cast metal is white metal. So it's like a zinc type pot metal is what they used to refer to it as, pot metal, because there were a lot of pots made out of it. But anyway, so if this is a white metal, because it's die cast, obviously that copper is plated on and it's a real thin layer. So yeah, we could start buffing on this real hard. We could probably take some real fine steel wool and go over it and clean it up, but we run the risk of cutting through that real thin copper layer. And we don't want to do that. So I have to figure out how to clean this up without destroying the copper. And there may be some places where the corrosion is worse that it may have actually already eaten through the copper. I haven't started cleaning on it, so I don't know. If you go online, there are a lot of supposed tricks for cleaning your copperware. And so we're going to try some of those and see what happens. It can only get cleaner, and hopefully it looks better. So let me get some stuff and then we'll see what happens. Okay, I've gathered a few supplies. So, like I said, when you look on the internet, they'll tell you all kinds of things to try for your copperware. And they're generally talking about actual copper pieces and maybe some copper plated stainless cooking pots and stuff. But anyway, so vinegar, baking soda, ketchup. These are things they'll tell you to use. Now, I have an assortment of brushes here. Toothbrush, nylon brush. Not going to be using this stainless bristled brush, because even though this will clean, it will also leave little scrape marks. Might try this. This is a 4/0 steel wool pad. That's about as fine as you can get. I use this if I ever have to re-blue something, you know, like an old firearm or something. This is what I use to buff with in between bluing coats. So might try that very carefully. So anyway, this is the stuff we're going to try. And I just realized I should have brought some water for the baking soda. I'll be right back. Okay, so right now my plan is to try various things in different areas and just see how they work. And probably use the less aggressive methods where you can really see the finish. Maybe go a little more aggressive up underneath where it's number one, more stained, and number two, less noticeable when it's just sitting. But anyway, gonna start mixing. Let's start with some baking soda. Just mix it up, make a paste, and then use the toothbrush and we're gonna just brush it on and see. It's supposed to be a really mild abrasive. You know, some people actually brush their teeth with baking soda. I think I tried it once or twice a long time ago, and obviously it wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. It didn't do anything for me because I don't do it anymore. Probably something I just tried because somebody said it worked, and I just wanted to see what it was like. But anyway, so I'll put a little bit of baking soda in some areas. It says to just put the toothpaste, the ketchup. It says to just put the ketchup on there. Just smear it on there and leave it. And so I'll probably do that too. So there is some baking soda. It's a little runny, but so let's do the ketchup over, I don't know if you can see it, over on these dots on the side, and you can feel those. That's pretty substantial corrosion. So this is old ketchup. You know, probably like everybody else, I have a drawer that has the ketchup and the barbecue sauce and the Arby's sauce in it and all that. And I think that needs mixed up a little more, but there we go. There's some good ketchup. Okay, so I'm just utilizing some of my old stock, shall we say, out of the drawer. And let's put this ketchup on here. Now, the ketchup supposedly works, and it makes sense because it has vinegar in it. But this is going to be probably the weakest cleaning method, is probably putting this ketchup on here and letting what little bit of vinegar is in it work. So that's on that side. We've got this up here, you know, it's going to be really visible, so maybe I can try the baking soda on it and see how it works. So let's see. Put it on there a little bit, and I might put it on with a brush and kind of rub it around with a cloth. Got some microfiber cloths up there on the shelf, and see what that does. And then we might try some vinegar here in a minute on some of the other stuff. Let's see. So far, I can't tell much of a difference right there. So I don't know, let's see. Get some cloth and let's see. Another thing about some things that are copper plated, they then put, to keep them from corroding like this, they then put a clear lacquer or some other coating on them. And so when they start corroding, it's because there's a scratch or something that has broken through that lacquer coating. And one thing that comes to mind is band instruments. So you don't want to be polishing on your band instrument constantly. And so they give it a real good polish, they clean it, and they coat it. Well, if you do any repairs on that instrument, then obviously you have to remove the coating, or the process of repairing removes the coating even. And so then it'll tarnish easily. And I've had to repair, let's see, what was it? I think it was a trumpet. And I had to do some soldering on it. And so I had to strip the coating off and solder it, bend some pieces back into place, and then recoat it with some clear lacquer. And so if you have an item like this and you start cleaning on it, and usually when you do, you can actually see the edges of the lacquer as you're cleaning. And so you're not gonna, unless you strip all that lacquer off, you're not gonna be able to do a lot with the entire piece. But you can clean the area. That's a little cleaner. We're not going to get rid of everything, especially if the corrosion has eaten into the layer of copper. You're always going to have that bumpiness, the pitting, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know if you can see it in the light. That is a little better. We're not going to make this thing look new. The only way to do that is completely strip it and replate it, and that's not going to be feasible for this. So I'm gonna leave the ketchup sit. I think I'm going to take some of the vinegar and do around the bottom, and we'll see what it looks like after that. And I won't make you guys suffer through that. So when I come back, we'll see what it looks like then. Okay, well, so far the ketchup didn't work at all. I'm sure if you left it on for a long time, it would work a little bit, but and it did. I shouldn't say it didn't work at all. It actually cleaned the surface. It did not remove any of the actual corrosion, though. Same thing with the baking soda and water paste with the toothbrush. It cleaned the surface, but it didn't really remove any of the corrosion. Vinegar on a rag, same thing. Vinegar, it obviously cleaned because the rag is getting dirty. So it's cleaning the surface, but not really removing the actual dark spots, the tarnish. So I resorted to, the method that I said I might, but you have to be really careful, and that is the 4/0 steel wool, and just it by itself. No other polishers, no other cleaners, nothing. And you do have to be careful the direction that you use it, because if you don't follow the shape of the item, it shows up. So there is the corrosion. You can see it. Oh, and I removed the band. I removed the band so that I could actually clean it, and I did steel wool it. Now you have to be real careful with these, because these are coated with a clear coat, and as you can see, That is where the clear coat was eaten away. But the steel wool did clean off. It looked kind of like rust. I mean, it wasn't rust, but it looked kind of like rust. It took that off. There's actually some in there. There we go. Looked like that. Took that off. Anyway, the point is, if you're careful and you use the steel wool, you can get a finish that looks like this. Yeah, check that out. It's a lot of elbow work, but and it'll never look this nice again. But to give to a girl for her Christmas present, we will go to the effort to make it look nice for her. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Okay, now I'm going to work on the plastic a little bit. That's not looking too bad. There's a few scratches and stuff in it, and I do have some plastic polish. I could soften them up a little bit, but they're never going to be completely gone. I think actually the stainless mixing bowl, I can do better in improving it and the overall look of it by polishing it up a little bit. So I don't know if you can see that, but there are quite a few just really obvious scratches and stuff in it. None of them are really deep, but it's just really obvious. And I have a buffing wheel down in the basement. I think I will go see what I can do to this with it. Okay, after about 15 minutes in the basement, I think this looks pretty good. It's pretty tight, cramped down there, and the buffer is right in the corner. There's not really any room to be able to set up a camera or anything in there, or I would have taken you down there. But you kind of sort of saw how it was before. I'll try to remember to put a picture in right here of what it looked like before. So this is the buffing compound. Let's see if we can get it off of there. So it's still going to have scratches in it because you have to remove quite a bit of metal to remove all the scratches. It still has some scratches in there, but they are way less noticeable. And overall, especially after I get all this wax cleaned off of here, overall, it looks pretty shiny now compared to what it did. This is never going to be a new machine, and you know, we're just trying to spruce it up for her. She's been wanting something like this for a long time, and like I said, from what I understand, these things are almost $800. And so her parents were really happy to find one that actually worked and had all the parts for, I believe it was $30 at a rummage sale. And, you know, it doesn't hurt me to throw an hour or two into it for her. So I will get the rest of that cleaned off. I may try to clean the inside up. I don't know if you can see that. Somebody has used a metal utensil to scrape the dough out of it. And so it's pretty scraped up too as well. I might try taking some of the steel wool and going around there. I actually have some steel wool in the basement that I think is a little coarser. And it wouldn't hurt in here because it already has the finish marks in it anyway. But then I mentioned, I think, earlier that I have some plastic polish. It is super fine, obviously, because it's for plastic. I may see what I can do with this with a little bit of that polish if it's not all dried up. The bottle cracked on me last time I was using it, and it may have actually dried out. But let me finish cleaning this up and then we'll get to that. So, I found some #1 steel wool, which is, if you look on the package, this package is 4/0. This is #1. So we are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 sizes, or 4 grades, however you want to say it, coarser. Quite a bit coarser just by the look and the feel. That is what I'm going to try to use on the inside of the bowl. And I have to be careful not to scratch up what I just cleaned and polished. So basically I'm just going to do like you were cleaning it out. And I'm just going to go through and kind of rough it up a bit. Hopefully that will camouflage some of them. Like I said, you're not going to get rid of them unless you remove a whole bunch of metal in comparison to the thickness of this bowl. But everything we can do to clean it up just a bit, it's going to get all scratched up anyway, I guarantee you. But we make it a little nicer. So they are definitely still in there, but you don't feel them nearly as much as you did before. So I think I'm going to call this thing done. I don't know. I don't see a radical improvement, so I think probably that is not going to help very much. So at this point, it's pretty much finished. I just need to put it all back together. And it's definitely not food clean, but it is cleaner than it was. So it still needs to be cleaned before it's used to make any food with. But it's pretty clean as far as what we're doing. So I think I will just throw it all back together. Obviously, you need to check it, make sure it still works after rolling it all around and everything. But I think we're going to call the polishing cleaning done. Except for, blowing out some of the dust and everything that's in there. So, time to put her back together, I think.